Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Kill Cheese.
Do 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 do.
A little extra there.
A little extra, you know?
Okay, you've been a little extra lately with the intro music.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Be alright.
Today for episode, I think this is episode 6.
Mm-hmm.
I have a story for you from accomplished_low7889.
That's a interesting name, but okay.
I know. Being a medium is no fun. This woman hired me to find who killed her parents.
Ugh. Medium, that's like a damn... Which ones are those? The mediums?
They're the ones who they
dead
speak
people?
to the dead. Yeah.
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 That's true, obviously. Let's find out. You never know.
All right. Lana Dawson welcomed me with a tired smile. She was desperate, like everyone who hires a medium, and I was just as desperate, which is why I was back to this gig. Trying other jobs only confirmed that I wouldn't make a living doing anything else. Lana hired me because it had been 20 years since her parents were brutally murdered in that house, a crime that remained unsolved despite the extensive police investigation. She was 15 at the time, and luckily at her grandma's. She tried private detectives before, and they found nothing. In the end, I imagine reluctantly, she found me through a friend of a friend. Good thing for her, I needed the money, and booked my flight right away. It was a typical home in a quiet Florida suburb, surrounded by mostly vacant houses. Lana decided never sell it, keeping it frozen in time. Perhaps someday it would help her find the truth. As she led me inside, an old woman next door was watering her plants, the only neighbor left. She glanced over and gave me a polite wave.
Hello.
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 This is a peaceful neighborhood of mostly widows and retirees, Lana explained later. Nothing like that ever happened before or after. The sorrow still present on her face was undeniable even after all these years. The living room was completely empty. Not even spiders roamed around. There was just dust and a single light bulb no one had ever bothered to take down.
There's always a single light bulb.
That's
The creepy one.
odd. Lana pulled back the curtain, flooding the space with sunlight, probably for the first time in ages. She gave me a quick tour through the kitchen and the bedrooms. I could tell she wasn't very hopeful that I'd find anything, and I couldn't blame her. Never promise a client results. That's a rule I learned early on. Most of the quote-unquote haunted houses I visit have nothing to see. Either the dead one moved on or they simply don't want to be disturbed. Not the kind of pitch that brings in clients. But spirits tend to remain where they died. The energy of death clings to a place, anchoring them there. If Lana's parents still lingered in this house, they could talk to me.
Well, that's a good idea.
I asked her for a chair and placed it in the center of the living room. I'll try to channel the voices of the spiritual world now, I told her. So please, we need to remain silent. That was just a fancy way of telling her to stay quiet so I could hear if any dead would actually talk.
Bitch, shut the fuck up. I'm trying to hear dead people.
I sat down and closed my eyes. For several minutes, I waited in silence, hearing nothing but the wind and birds outside. I was ready to give up and explain to Lana that my no refund policy when I heard faint weeping.
I don't like that at all.
It was soft, almost inaudible, and gradually grew louder. Is there someone here among us? I called out firmly.
Probably. Sounds like it.
Are there any ghosts here?
Maybe.
The crying stopped, and a metallic, ethereal voice asked, "Can you hear me?"
Oh, fuck.
Yes, I can. Who are you? No response. The entity resumed crying. I explained what I heard to Lana, who was now slightly more excited by the discovery. It could be her family. Please tell me, are you Mr. or Miss Dawson? I tried. The weeping stopped abruptly. Do you know where Miss Dawson is? The voice asked. I want to tell her I'm sorry. What do you mean? Sorry for what? The light flickered for a second, and I saw the curtain shift slightly before the answer came. For what I did to her, the voice confessed.
Fuck.
Its tone laced with sorrow for killing her the way I did.
Who's this bitch?
Oh no. I felt my heart pound in my chest and turned to Lana. I don't think this is your family.
Who the fuck else died?
The killer, apparently.
Mm.
Now, in my experience, spirits can be deceitful. It wouldn't be the first time some smart-ass ghost tried to play me for a fool, so I didn't immediately relay all I had heard to Lana.
That'd be a smart-ass ghost, too.
Sassy ghosts. She would probably freak out anyway, and I needed her to stay quiet for the rest of the session. Who are you? I asked next. No response. Do you know what happened that day? I tried again. This time after a long pause, the voice answered. It wasn't supposed to happen like that, it murmured. She shouldn't have had to die.
What the fuck is going on?
That was an interesting response. What about Mr. Dawson? I asked. That's literally what it says in the story. That was an interesting response. What about Mr. Dawson? I asked. The man got what he deserved, the voice suddenly deepened.
Damn, poor guy.
Taking on an almost demonic tone, the light bulb flickered violently. The reaction made sense based on what I had read about the crime scene. Mr. Dawson had died from 15 stab wounds, most likely in his bed.
Fuck.
I know.
15?
15.
Bitch, don't take that many. My God. I mean, surely the guy, like, after 2 or 3, you're probably gone. 15?
The killer was probably driven by emotion. But Miss Dawson showed signs of a struggle. Her only fatal injury was a deep slice across her neck. Maybe her death wasn't intentional at first. This could actually be the murderer. But why did you do it? I decided it was time for tough questions. I just wanted to help you find peace. It's the only way you'll leave this house and see her again. There was a long silence. Then it spoke, its words thick with emotion. Because I loved her more than anything. I used to watch her every day, getting in her car, walking the dog, buying groceries. She did it all with that same smile. When she waved at me, I felt it in my bones.
What in the fuck? You got a stalker.
That doesn't explain why you killed her, I pressed. My questions likely revealed the true nature of the voice to Lana, and her eyes widened in shock. I didn't want to, the voice roared. The bulb exploded, making Lana jump. I just wanted to get rid of him so we could be together, but she wouldn't accept it. She wouldn't come with me. No shit.
What? She wants her to leave her husband to be with her.
Oh,
That you just said?
yes.
Okay.
The weeping resumed. I pressed for more answers, but got nothing. Everything I heard spun in my mind like a whirlwind. When everything clicked, I stood up and walked to the door. Lana was as pale as snow, visibly shaken by what had happened. Even if she hadn't heard a word, the energy in the room, it was impossible to ignore. She asked me why I was leaving. I'm just thirsty, I casually said. There's no running water here, so I'll ask that old lady next door for a glass. I'll be back in a minute. The neighbor looked surprised to see me knocking on her door. She was a tiny, fragile lady, maybe in her 70s. She was making bread dough, but stopped to answer and invited me in for some water. As I followed her to the kitchen, I took a look at her home. Furniture that had to be at least half a century old and a large portrait in the living room of her and her husband taken long ago. She handed me a glass of water and went back to kneading the fresh dough. What? I see you looking at me. What?
I was looking at your phone.
Oh, I thought you were her and her husband.
I'm your stalker.
I hope you don't mind me doing this, she said, using all her small weight against it. I just love having them ready for dinner. I'm talking about the bread. Don't mind me at all, I thanked her, sipping the water slowly. By the way, you and your husband are so beautiful together in that photo, I said, referring to the portrait. Her face stiffened for a brief moment before returning to its usual warm smile.
I ain't liking that either.
Sore subject. She confessed to me he had abandoned her years ago, but it was hard to let go of the memories. One day he simply got out and never returned. Determined to change the subject, she asked what I was doing in that dusty, abandoned house. I told her I was a medium. Oh, that's fun, she giggled. Did you find anything there? Yes, as a matter of fact, I did, I answered. I found your husband. And he told me a lot about you, about him.
Oh, fuck.
And about what he did to the Dawson family.
Oh, fuck.
Okay. She froze, hands still buried in the dough. Slowly, she turned around, scanning my face to see if I was joking, if I really knew the truth about what had happened 20 years ago. I didn't. It was a bluff, an educated guess. For the killer to be a spirit trapped in that house, he had to have died nearby. For him to know the private details of Miss Dawson's life, he had to be someone that lives close, someone who could watch her every move like a neighbor, and there would not be many of them around here. I had no idea it would work, but my theory could be pretty much wrong. But the bluff paid off. Kiss the woman broke down in tears.
Oh, fuck.
For Lana, finding the truth was all that mattered, and I gave it to her. Her family had been killed by a neighbor obsessed with her mother. In an act of desperation, he took advantage of the night to break into the house and confess his feelings, just as she had gone to the kitchen for a glass of water. When she rejected him, he grabbed her and slit her throat with a sharp fish knife.
Damn.
Then, in a fit of rage, he walked into the bedroom where her father slept and stabbed him to death.
Damn.
It took me a few more sessions with the killer to get the whole truth out. The old lady confirmed and admitted to Lana that she had suspected her husband all along, and when she confronted him, he fled, never to be found and probably dying somewhere years later. The end. Or at least that's the end that I told Lana. I can't say she was happy about it, but at least she knew now. There could finally be peace. What I didn't tell her was that the husband never fled, and his wife simply didn't confront him with words. When he arrogantly admitted to the crime, showing no remorse, she shot him with the handgun they kept under the bed and buried him in the backyard. I advised the woman to lie to Lana, keeping her safe from any legal trouble. That way, everything would end up in its right place.
The who killed him?
The wife. The old woman.
The stalker's wife?
Yeah.
Shot him and buried him?
Shot his ass.
Damn.
Everything would end up in its right place. The old woman in her home, the husband trapped inside that house, drowning in his regrets. Fuck his peace. The end.
Is that the actual end this time?
Yes, it is the actual end. Here's some comments. Agreed. He doesn't deserve peace.
Damn.
Love this. I feel so bad for Lana.
True.
That's in Spanish. I can't read that.
¿Qué pasa?
Great story. I really enjoyed it.
Wow.
That was great. Well written, and thanks for sharing. Excellent read. Bravo, OP. Well, that's it.
Wow, those comments are kind of ass.
Kind of ass.
Story was good, though.
Story was really good. That was a
little twisty in the end.
I know, it kind of wasn't really where I was expecting that to go, but nice little plot twist. Plot twist.
Well, everybody. Well, we're on video right now. It means you're probably on YouTube or Spotify. If you are on audio, you can find us on video on YouTube and Spotify.
This is so confusing.
We're everywhere. Long story short, we're everywhere. You can never escape us. That's all. Anything from you?
You can submit any of your own stories or any story that you find interesting and that you want us to read. That is going to be...
Email us. It's in the description. Or you can DM us on whatever.
There you go.
That is all. Bye, everybody.
Bye.